What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Matt Pinella from MattBangsWood. Today I'm going to be explaining to you guys how to bid new construction rough framing. I'm not going to go over a specific set of plans and show you our dollar amount, but I am going to explain to you guys everything from beginning to end on how you can bid. Let's get to it. This is by far one of the easiest things to bid, and a lot of people don't know how. So we're going to start with this. You need to understand how much it costs for you to operate. If you're a 4-man crew and it costs you $5,000 a week, you need to make more than that $5,000 a week in order to work. If you're making $4,000 a week, you're losing money. There's no point in working. So first things first, figure out what it costs you and your employees to work for a week. For this video in particular, we're going to say that number is $5,000. So now that you know that you need to make $5,000 or more every single week in order to operate, it's a good start. Now what I've got sitting in front of me here is a project that we've already completed. This was the 8-day house build. I've used this build for reference many times. Now this build was very small. This build was 1,200 square foot top and bottom. So we're going to jump right into that. Now things may be different state to state, but in California, the way things are bid is by square foot. In this case, we're working with 1,200 square foot. So now depending on the build, whether it's a track home or a custom home, it's going to pay either lower or higher. And there's a ton of different variables that can make it in between. If you've done work in your area for a while, chances are you know what that number can be. To make things very simple, we're going to go ahead and say that framing is paying $10 a foot. It'll make it a lot easier on math. Everything is easier to understand. That is not what contractors are charging here in California. I can say that they are charging quite a bit more than that. So we're looking at 1,200 square foot here. If we charge $10 per square foot, we're right around $12,000 to build this place. But there's different variables that you need to look for when you're bidding projects. Let's start with the obvious ones. Is it single story or is it 2-story? If you watch the 8-day house build, if you haven't, icon in the top right hand corner. So the 8-day house build had 8-foot bottom story walls, 12-inch floor system, and then rake walls up top. 8 foot on the back side, 10 foot on the front side, and then obvious rake walls in between. So right off the bat, you know this place is going to take a little bit more work than a single story home. You need to adjust your price for that, because you're not just building 1,200 square foot single story 8-foot walls, you're building 600 square foot, a floor system, sheeting that floor system, then framing on top of that. You have to get all your lumber from the bottom up to the 2nd story in order to frame. Different variables like this is what's going to make your price go up. So since we know the build is going to be 2 stories, price is obviously going to go up a bit. What's next? We need to know what the roof is doing, whether they're going to have manufactured trusses or if we're going to be cutting everything ourselves. Now on this build, it was very basic, 2x12 rafters, 1-in-12 pitch, super easy roof. We know for a fact that that roof would go pretty quick. Therefore, we really don't need to adjust our price whatsoever. What you're looking for when you're bidding homes is something that's really going to set you back, whether it's going to set you back a couple hours or a day or two. And overall, you need to know how quick your crew can operate. Obviously, when you're first getting started though, you're not going to know how efficient your crew is. You're not going to know how efficient you can build. Therefore, you kind of have to test the waters and go for it. Shoot for the moon on a couple of bids. If you get them, you see how it goes. So since we talked about the fact that you need $5,000 per week to operate, you can break that down per day, $1,000 a day. If you come across something on the plans that you think is going to set you back 1 day or 2 days, such as a floor system, add those days plus a little bit onto the total price. So we have $12,000 as our base price right now. Nothing crazy going on, just simple framing. We've got that floor system, a day or 2 on the floor system, add $2,000 to it. So you're looking at $14,000. From there, we've got rake walls up on the top. If you're not comfortable with rake walls, chances are you're gonna wanna add a little bit to that as well. Hand cut roof, same exact thing. $15,000, $16,000 wouldn't be too crazy to ask for this place. So we have an exterior staircase going up the side along with a small deck. Now the deck is going to be cut into the floor system, so we're going to have LVL notched down and then sloped. That's going to take quite a bit of time as well. Little things like that you can go ahead and add to your price. It's going to take a bit of time. And then lastly, whether it's an addition or new construction. New construction, you're pretty much set. You have a concrete slab to build off of, you just go for it. The 8-day house build was an addition. So we were building a 2-story unit up against a single-story unit. It was pretty fun. That was something else we had to take into consideration, is that we're not just building a brand new house. We're tying into existing. Overall, there's a ton of different variables that you have to look for when bidding new construction. Take a look at the plans, and honestly, if you can't read the plans, chances are you shouldn't be bidding homes. Look at every possible detail. Look at structural tie-ins from existing into new construction. Look at everything. Here in California, we see some really crazy callouts on plans. So start from the bottom and work your way up. First off, check your wall heights. Single story or 2-story, that can change the price a bit. Floor systems, Floor systems get crazy and a lot of people just think, oh, it's just a floor. It can get gnarly. The floor system on our season 2 build took quite a bit of time. The fact that we were able to sit down and work that into our bid really did save us. From there, check out the roof as well. Now, another thing I highly suggest looking at is what lid material they're going to be using. If you have a soffit like LP or James Hardie, obviously that's going to be taken care of by the siding contractor, or if you've got a tongue and groove that has to go down before sheathing on the roof. If you've got TNG, chances are you're going to spend a little bit of time doing that as well. So basically, go through the plans from start to finish. Get a base price though. Figure out what other people are bidding at. Honestly, it shouldn't be too hard to figure out. Now, another thing I highly suggest doing is checking out the property to see how accessible it is. On this build, we had to have everything dropped in the driveway and we could not have a reach lift on the property. There just wasn't enough room. That means that everything had to be stood by hand. For those of you that run 6, 7 guys, that doesn't mean much to you, but when there's only 3 or 4 of us lifting walls by hand, handing up full floor systems, it gets old. We're used to having a reach lift on site. This project was definitely different for us. Check the site to see if your equipment is usable. If it is, always charge for your equipment. Whether you own the lift that you use or you rent it, charge for it either way. If you rent a lift, take the overall cost of the rental, say it's $3,000. Add 10 or 20% for your markup, whatever you're used to doing, add it to it. $3,300, $3,600, charge that for the month. If you're taking the time to work with the rental company to get that equipment out there, you need to make money on it. We're not in this business to lose. If you own your lift, this is where things get nice. Take the same thing that you charged over here, toss it over there. If you own your lift outright or you're paying payments on it, they're gonna be a lot lower than $3,300 or $3,600. That helps to cover in the case that something breaks down, along with fuel for the month. Always charge for your lift. So now you wanna go ahead and add that to your overall cost for the house build. So if we're looking at $14,000, $15,000 to frame this place, go ahead and add $3,300, $3,600 on top of it. You're looking somewhere around $18,600, $19,000. So here's how the overall process goes for us. We get a set of plans sent to us via builder or a bid room, either way. We then send that link straight to a company that prints all of our plans locally. The only thing that we have printed when we bid is structural, architectural, and elevations. From there, we can see everything that we need to see. You can see a full 360 of the outside of the home. You can see all the structural details along with all the architectural. It's pretty much all you need to bid. With material, now here's where you can do a couple of different things. You can take a set of plans down to a lumberyard. They'll do takeoff for you and get you a number back. You can double check all their material, make sure everything's good and go with them. Or you can use a service like I've promoted in the past called Max Takeoffs. You send them that same link that you used to print the plans. They give you back a full material takeoff list as well. Either way, chances are you're going to pay. Both the lumberyard and Max Takeoffs will guarantee their service, but I highly suggest double checking everything. In the case you don't want someone else doing your takeoff, you can always do it yourself, send a list in and they'll give you a price at the lumberyard. Personally, it's a bit time consuming though. You want to make money on that material, same way you want to make money on your lift, whether you rent or own. So you can go ahead and add your markup to that material list. Now you get your material cost back at $15,000. You want to add your markup to that. Your markup is basically going to cover you in the case that you wind up short on something. Say you wind up 15 sheets short on roof sheathing. I would really hope you wouldn't do that, especially on a small build like this, but your markup will cover you. Never purchase material without marking it up. There's literally no reason to do that. In the case that a builder ever wants you to do that, simply have them pay for material. In my opinion, that's probably the best way to do it anyway. You lose out a few $1,000s, but you take absolutely zero chance when it comes to being short on material. Anything that's short, builder takes care of it. Typical markup on material is anywhere from 10 to 25%. 25% isn't seen a whole lot these days. 10 through 20 I'd say is probably about the most common. So $15,000, 20% markup, you're gonna be adding $3,000 on top of that, you've got $18,000. $3,000 cushion in the case something goes wrong, you're looking right around $37,000 out the door to frame this project. From there, all you have to do is write up your proposal, list everything you plan on doing, list anything you don't plan on doing. When we first started in business, we bid quite a few homes before we ever got the first one. Funny story on bidding really quick, we bid on a 3-plex, I'd say right about a year ago. Came up with an individual price for each one of them, multiplied it by 3, they're all the same. Our price is right around $30,000 per unit, there's 3 of them, $90,000, lift included for a while. We sent our proposal to the builder. He got back to me and I have never seen someone so pissed off in an email. He went off telling me that in all the years that he's been building, he's never paid $50 per square foot in his lifetime. He took the overall cost of all 3 units, divided that by the square footage of 1 unit, making that price way too high, and then completely lost it in an email. So I decided to respond back as nicely as possible and tell him that he was completely wrong. He responded back, said he stands corrected, never heard a word from him again. So I'm pretty sure his lack of ability to do basic math ruined the chance of us ever working with him. Now, one last thing. Builders will try to talk you out of this. Garages. Builders will try to tell you that that is not included in the square footage price. There's no reason it shouldn't be. It is the same exact thing as building the house. Don't let them try to talk you out of that. That's 600 square foot times 10, that's $6,000 that you just lost out. Don't let it happen. Add that square footage to your price as well. Think of a living room, for instance. It's the same dang thing. 4 big old walls and a big old open space. Should we not charge for a living room either? Overall though, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you out a little bit. Chances are, if you've bid projects before, you either do it something like this, maybe you do it a little different. Knowing what it costs you to run your business for a full week, along with what it costs you to run for a day. You could break it down into weeks, days, figure out how long it's going to take, and make sure that you can make money on these projects. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below. If you want to see more content like this based around bidding projects and the business end of things, please let me know. My best advice to you guys is to bid correctly. In the case that a builder snaps back at you and tells you that you got the project, double check your numbers before, because until you sign a contract, you are not in any sort of binding agreement. Double check everything, guys. I'll catch you next time. Bang on. Back when I was 15, 16 years old, neighbor across the street was a contractor, a framing contractor to be exact, and I used to do all of his proposals. He would call me up anytime he needed a proposal written up. Me being a little computer nerd, I would head on over there and make some cash. It's like $20 per proposal that I charged him. Perfect opportunity to make some money, and it helped me out quite a bit for future reference. I would go over, write up 3 or 4 of them, cash out 60, 80 bucks, head on home.